All right, everybody, wake it up. It's the Blacksmith Podcast, Financially Savvy Saturdays. Look, here's your message of the day. Perpetual entertainment is the end of CMD, creativity, motivation, and drive. A little pick me up, wake me up, and motivate me up, if you will. And if you won't, same answer. I am Will be your host. This is the intro to the Blacksmith Podcast. Now, I don't have a funny video for y'all. I don't. Maybe I should have, but no funny business today. We are going to jump right into it because I am actually running late. You see, the wiggity wife, she is in college and she had some assignment that she had to complete, like a public speaking class where she had to have people on Zoom, and we went all day yesterday, hours, trying to figure out why it's recording her face and nobody else's, because it has to show all the other people that is on the call. So we did this thing like, I don't know how many times. And finally, we just gave up using the desktop and we used the phone and got it knocked out this morning. So she was uploading and I helped her edit it this morning. So the Blacksmith Podcast is running late, but if you know me, TBP, then we are going to be on here indeed. Bars, financial bars. But listen, if you can see my screen like I know you can see my screen, we're going to talk about what that market do. What that market do. Now, that is horribly grammatically incorrect. However, let's take a look at the market. So Google's telling you right here that stock indexes fell for the second week straight. Now, stop right there. I need y'all to understand that that's important because what is an index fund? An index fund is a fund that is made up of a lot of different companies, a lot of different stocks, if you will. And they actually trade after the market closes, while index versus ETF trades when the market's open. So an index fund is a type of mutual fund or index traded fund designed to match the performance of a financial market like the S&P 500, which is what we're going to take a look at in a few seconds. Instead of trying to beat the market by picking single stocks, it holds all for a sample of the companies in that index. Now that's a lot of gobbledygook for instead of you just picking Microsoft and the performance of your stock portfolio solely being based off of how Microsoft is doing. If you pick the S&P 500, it's the top 500 market cap. So top 500 wealthiest companies in the world in one share. And one share of that company is 500. In one share of that stock, there's 500 companies. Does that make sense? So one share of Microsoft and one share of S&P 500, their performance is going to be very different because this could be in a technology. This is a technology sector. This could be technology sector, healthcare, consumer goods. See that? So it's already going to be different, right? So the S&P 500 is a great indicator of how the market's doing because the S&P 500 has the 500 most wealthiest companies. Thus, how they move, the market moves. Typically, the market gets about 10% a year gain, and so does the S&P 500, or vice versa. The S&P 500 does, thus the market does. When I move, you move, just like that. Thank you, Ludacris. All right, so how they work. Passive management, they do not use a manager to pick and choose stocks. They simply copy an index. So I'll do how it works later. Instant spread, when you buy one share, your money goes into every company in that group. See, so investing in one share of S&P 500, which is pretty pricey, you're actually getting 500 different companies. The fund goes up and down right along with the index it follows. The main benefit is because no one has to research stocks all day. The yearly operating costs expenses are very low. There's less risk in owning pieces of hundreds of companies at once, and it protects you if just one or two companies do poorly. So in the S&P 500, Microsoft is in there. So watch this. If you have Microsoft and then you have the S&P 500, you're buying Microsoft twice, right? Which could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing, because let's say with Microsoft, let's say you have a company that's not in the S&P 500, and then you have the S&P 500. You get the top 500 companies growth, and you get that company's growth. But if you get Microsoft in the S&P 500, some of your money is going into Microsoft either way. Now, that could be very good if Microsoft is doing very well. It could be bad if Microsoft is not doing well, because you're double dipping here. What I like is not to double dip. I wouldn't like to double dip. But either way, it is what it is. So where did I do? Okay. They're simple to buy and do not require deep financial knowledge to start. I just explained this to you in like 10 seconds. The S&P 500 is the top 500 wealthiest companies. So when you buy one share, your money goes into 500 different companies, save one. Thus, it's better to buy the S&P 500, because if 100 companies do poorly, but 400 of them do well, you'll still gain for the year, right? When you buy one share of one solitary company, it rises fast, it falls fast, and however that company does, one company, or your whole portfolio is contingent on one company over here versus on 500 companies. You are held up a lot better with the 500 companies. You have a lot more stability. Like, you won't earn as much, but you won't drop as much. And what you want is consistent growth. So in my opinion, how this looks, if you're a beginner in the stock market, buy index funds. Get the S&P 500 or VTO, which is Vanguard's version of the S&P 500. Get the S&P 500. Put 70 to 80% of your money into the S&P 500 or index funds like that, and they will grow about 10% a year, which is what you want. And then you take the other 20%, and now you buy your favorite companies that are not inside of the S&P 500, or maybe they are, but now you plug and play with that money. That way you'll always have stable wealth being grown in the market, and then you'll have a little bit of it up and down. All right, so that is my advice on that. Now let's take a look at SPY. So this is S&P 500 ETF Trust, which is not what I was really looking for. But either way, let's see. So this is the ETF version. In a day, let's say, okay, so it didn't move much. And then last week, it dropped a little more than 0.5%. But in the past month, it's up 0.5%. Past 3 months, it's up 3.5%. Year to date, it's up almost 8%. Now, watch this. So Robinhood yesterday was down 7% pretty much. In the past week, 5%. But they're up 1.5% for the month. 3 months, 12%. But year to date, they're down 18%. See the difference? In an ETF, it didn't move that much up, but it didn't go that far down. And Robinhood is a fantastic company. And they, I believe, joined the S&P 500 2 or 3 quarters ago. They're also about to do their earnings call, so look out for that. Let's switch gears here. Let's go into our health tip of the week. Okay. Yes, but I'm not saying that. So this week's health tip of the week is to protect your nervous system from practicing a digital sunset. This is going to be interesting.
Women have vitamin D.
Okay. Women have vitamin D. Okay, so this means unplugging and turning off all technology, including your smartphone, tablet, and TV, at least 30 to 60 minutes before bedtime. And this is from a UCLA study. The blue light emanated from these devices mimic daylight, which suppresses your body's natural production of melatonin and tricks your brain into staying alert. Now, I am guilty of this almost every night. I'll tell you that because the wife and I, we are not couch potatoes at all. In fact, every morning I get up and hit the gym. I come home, shower, change, and then I get commuting down to San Diego. She goes to spin early in the morning, and then she comes home and starts her day. She goes to spin for like an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, and then they do like another fitness class after that. Maybe she'll do another one like Pilates, hot yoga, body pump, whatever kind of aerobics, the girly stuff, but she gets it. She used to actually go and lift weights with me. And so fitness, that is, we are active people. We hike, we run, we go on walks, stuff like that. We are active. We do not sit down. We're not couch potatoes at all. And I say all of that to say this. At night, we do turn the TV on when we lay down to go to bed, and we'll usually fall asleep to a movie or series. Right now, the Daryl Dixon series is out. Season 3 is out, so we started that. And we didn't even make it halfway through episode 1. Because we're not couch potatoes. We rather it be that way. We rather like take forever to get through a series than, we watched Daryl Dixon in a day. Well, dang, how long were you on the couch? And that's why we don't look like we would be on the couch. Just saying, do you? So I get what they're saying right here. And then a lot of people are developing or have developed sleeping problems. And one of the main reasons is because they don't do this. They don't turn their stuff off 30 to 60 minutes before bedtime. Now, we wake up extremely early. So by the time we lay down, we're actually tired. We're gonna sleep. It doesn't mean that we wouldn't sleep better if we didn't do that, right? Okay, so charge your phone across the room. Keep your device out of arm's reach to eliminate the temptation of late night or early morning scrolling. First of all, you just need to have discipline. And that's basically what they're doing here is they're treating you like a child. Now, I agree with this for a lot of you that are probably watching this, because if you don't have vitamin D, the discipline, and vitamin C, the consistency to perform that discipline over and over and over again, then you need to do this. This is akin to a parent having to say, no video games. And then they come home and find their kids playing video games when they are already on punishment. So what they then do is they take the video games away. I, as a parent, refuse to do that. If I say no video games, my kids know there's no video games. And it only happens if they're on punishment, right? So I would never come home and find them with those controllers in their hands and the TV on, or they would never try that and risk getting caught, because they already know there's consequences to that, right? And so that's like a parent whose kids aren't listening, so they take the video games away. I like leaving the temptation there. But if you cannot resist the temptation, then take it away. This reminds me, right? I think it was yesterday, the verse of the day from the Bible. Let me find it. So the verse of the day was Corinthians, and I love this one. 1 Corinthians 10:13. Listen to this, okay? This is biblical, right? There hath no temptation taking you, but such is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able. But with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it. So this scripture, now that's King James Version, is often misquoted. People will say God won't put on you more than you can handle. And it's kind of the same thing, but it takes it out of context when you change just a few words around. Because the meaning of this is simple. This is King James Version, KJV. Those were not bars. That was actually a mess up. That was an error, if you will. And if you won't, same answer. So basically what it's saying is that you didn't fall to any crazy temptation. What you fell to, so regardless if it's staying up too late, if it's adultery, infidelity, if it's a gluttonous diet or habits, if it's slothfulness, whatever it is, that's common to man. You fell to something common. Congratulations, you're a human being. But they're saying that God is faithful enough and graceful enough to not allow you to be tempted above what you're able to handle. So that's different for everybody, right? Let me see. So some guys may be able to walk by an adult store or an adult establishment, or I wouldn't even call it an adult establishment, places where they're taking their clothes off and stuff, and not be tempted at all. He can look at that and be like, I ain't going in there. I got no business being in there. While another guy might be nail biting when he's on a corner, the adjacent corner, two blocks away or two corners away, he's sweating. Same thing with a casino. Let's get off the sexual stuff. Same thing with a casino, right? I want this show to be, for everybody. I don't want to be in rated R, so we're not like that over here. But listen what I'm saying. Some people with a casino, some people will walk right by a casino, not care to, they'll drive by for 20 years and never be in it. Some people are nail biting as they drive past it, they got to go in. So they got to find an alternate route. That's having a vice. So I've never drank alcohol. When I could see a bottle of liquor sitting on my counter, it wouldn't be because we don't drink in this house. Well, let me say that. My wife has a glass of wine every now and then. Probably the true meaning of social drinker. When we go to a social setting, she doesn't drink every time we even go anywhere to a social setting. But she truly will have like one blue moon and be done. Or she'll have a glass of wine and be done, truly. And so, but me, never touched it. I could see a bottle of wine. I could see a bottle of liquor, Henny, Jack. What's another one? I don't have a lot of drink knowledge, folks. Vodka, rum, I don't know. Anything, and I won't be sweating. I could knock it over. I could pour it out. I could smash the bottle and then clean up the glass because I don't like littering. It doesn't tempt me. But if I did have that, that's common to man. One shot, probably not a bad thing, right? The whole bottle, half the bottle, probably a bad thing, right? I'm not demonizing anybody from drinking alcohol. I'm just saying, if you can't not, and I go all the way back to this, if you cannot see your phone light up, or hear it vibrate, or hear the chime, there's different things you can do. Turn the chimes off. Why would you have that on? Turn the vibration off. Why would you have that on? If somebody's sick in the hospital, if you are a manager or supervisor somewhere like in the military. I don't need to totally have my phone turned off at night because somebody might have wanted to jail and I'm a chief or above, E7 or above. You have to be the one to go get them out of jail. They won't turn them over to anybody junior to your pay grade, right? Things happen in the military all the time. There's a watch floor that's going on, and sometimes crazy things happen. But a lot of us are not in positions like that. A lot of us are worker bees. So work is not the reason you have your phone turned on. Usually your spouse or loved one is sleeping next to you. So it's not them hitting you up. It's Instagram, it's Facebook. It's because you're on it so much, it keeps giving you notifications all the time. Turn the chime off, turn the vibration off, make it go dead silent, and then flip it over. Put a I don't know, like a pillowcase or something soft on your nightstand or something, and turn the phone face down. That way, you don't see the light, you don't hear the vibration, you don't hear the ringing. If you can't do that, charge it across the room. Sorry, I went long on that just because, look, folks, this is simple. Have some discipline, right? Swap the screen for a book. Spend the last half hour of your day physically reading print, writing in a journal, or doing gentle sketching. Do you know why they say do that? Because there's something that carries the same brain waves, 3 activities. What are they? All right, sleeping, reading, and watching TV. All 3 of those have the same brain waves, right? The difference in between watching TV and sleeping and reading or writing, I guess. I wouldn't write if writing excites you. Okay? I wouldn't do that because your brain might start firing off and it may ideas and it may keep you awake. So if you're a creative writer, do not write before bed. Don't do that. Reading, sleeping, good to go. But if you watch TV, like it just said, the blue light it emits might keep you awake. So just understand that. That's why it's saying swap the TV with physically reading or writing or something. I wouldn't write before bed because I'm actually a creative writer, and I will actually get inspired by what I'm writing. And so for me, I wouldn't want to do that. Now, so establish a predictable routine, pair your tech shutdown with an existing habit like brewing coffee or caffeine-free tea. I'm sorry. I saw brewing and my mind went straight to coffee, or brushing your teeth to signal your brain that it's time to wind down. So what it's saying here is be a creature of habit, right? If you become a creature of habit, it becomes a lot tougher for anybody for you to fail at this kind of stuff, right? So what that means is, basically what it just said, when it's time to shut down your phone, go brush your teeth. Because when it's time to brush your teeth, you shut the phone down, right? And anyway, so I'm a creature of habit. Like, I get up and go to the gym every morning. When I get to the gym, my body already knows it's time to go do number 2. When I get to the gym, now I hit the weights, right? If I don't go, and that's kind of gross, right? TMI, but my body's on the schedule is what I'm saying. When I go to the gym, my body knows it's time to do that, and then I go hit the weights. Well, if I don't go to the gym, I also don't do that. And then if I don't go to the gym 2 days, I'll be backed up, and then finally I'll go at some random time. But my body's on a time schedule. Anyway, that's TMI. But I shared it, so if you watched it, now you know a little bit about me. But listen. So, all right. So that's the health tip of the week. What did we take away from that? Hopefully you learned the lesson it had to teach, but I will tell you this, do yourself a favor and become a creature of habit. It's not wrong to be a creature of habit. You need to absolutely have some discipline and some consistency. And if you do not do that, you'll be the one suffering for it. All right, so we're gonna move on. Hot P, health tip of the week. We are gonna move on. What do I have cooked up for y'all today? And we talked about how the market fell. We talked about what an index fund is. We don't need the calculator right now. That was for, oh, I'll give an announcement right here. Let me mark this. So 25, 23. All right, so listen, the Blacksmith Podcast, what I'm building over here, my vision over here is a lot bigger than what you see on this podcast every week. So I just created 3 new YouTube channels. And when I get all of the social media accounts for all of them, I will tell you what they are, because here's what I don't want. I don't want anybody stealing my handles on other platforms and scalping like, oh, I got it over here on Twitch, man. If you want it, 10 grand. I see you're getting big over there. Here's my thing. Imagine, if you will, an umbrella. Everybody hold your hand up like this, because this is how you would hold your umbrella, right? You have the handle, right? Usually curved, or it could be straight. I don't know. Then you have the stem or the trunk of the umbrella. Now it goes up and it branches out, and it has metal spokes, like 4, 5, 8 metal spokes branching off, right? And then it has the top covering portion, right? Now those can be small, they can be triangle shaped, or they can be, more dome shaped. What I envision is a huge dome shape that would cover 3, 4 people, because sometimes the rain blows and you need more coverage. That's what my overarching channel is going to be, the umbrella. The Blacksmith Podcast is going to be 1 spoke underneath it, holding it up. Then I'm going to have another one over here holding it up, another one over here holding it up, and another one over here. So I'll have 4 spokes, east, north, west, and south, holding up my umbrella. And I plan to do other things, but that's the plan. That's the idea. That's the dream. That's the vision. I'll tell you more about it once I actually have all the handles to the channels that I want, so I don't reveal too much and get got, right? So there's that. So just know I already have the YouTube channels. I just need all the other ones, right? So the Blacksmith Podcast is actually moving over here. I almost called it what I truly envision it to be, and I don't want to do that. Don't want to get got. Now, let's move back to, we're going to call this one, that didn't take long at all. We'll say Hood, because we're going to talk about Robinhood. Now, Robinhood's earnings call is only 3 days away, and I'm so excited about it. There's Shiv Verma, their CFO, Chief Financial Officer. There's Vladimir Tenev, or Vlad Tenev, the real Vlad, as Earn Your Leisure called him. He's been on their show at least 3 times. Awesome guy that, it sounds like to talk to. Now, for their earnings call, let's look at what people are asking. Is Robinhood looking to be a real bank versus a fintech partnership with a coastal community? Are they looking to be a real bank versus fintech partnership with coastal community? I do like that question, but I don't know if I'm going to upvote it just yet. Let's look at this one. Mike T is always asking some good stuff, man. I only know his name because he's always on here. And he's a retail shareholder like myself. So a retail investor is your average Joe that's investing in stock. When will Robinhood Banking expand services like Desktop View and Zelle? Now, I like that. Innovation on your banking side. What is the goal, Zachary N? What is the goal of Robinhood Social, and when will it go live to the general public? I do want to hear more about that. Now, they talked about that I think it was last year or 2 years ago at their summit, and they talked about it's going to be out or the annual. It was the summit or the annual meeting last year, or maybe at the end of 24. But I'm looking for that Robinhood social because I'm going to use it. Could you shed some light on why you are getting rid of the Morningstar reports? Is there any plan to have another sell side report as replacement? Cortex and Digest are great, but just very surface level. So if you don't know what he's talking about, here, is this Hood as well? He's talking about like these reports that you'll see on the stocks right here, like stuff like that, like the Motley Fool. And I do want to talk about Vlad here in a second because I got a message saying that he got hacked or something like that. And I want to see if there's any validity to it. But you guys can go right along with me. So maybe they cut ties with Morningstar as a reporter. Maybe they're too expensive or something like that. They might be using more agentic stuff because Robinhood is a company of innovation. That's why I love them so much. Fidelity and Schwab already let customers buy T-bills directly at auction or with auto roll, essentially Berkshire-style cash management for retail investors. Why is Robinhood leaving customers in ETF proxies instead of offering direct treasury access? Is this on the roadmap? Now, I don't know what the heck he's talking about, but if I know Robinhood, if they're not doing it, now, I'm not a fanboy, but I've seen how they operate. They are looking at every major aspect of finance. So if they're not doing it, there's either a plan to do it or there's a very good reason why. You never catch them with their pants down, so to speak. I got to stop making references like this. What is today? What's happening? All right, so you never catch them with their arms in the air, hands in the air like, I don't know. I don't have an answer. Watch their earnings calls. You'll see what I mean. And it's not made up stuff. It's stuff they actually either they can't divulge because it's in the works and they don't want to get got by releasing too much too soon, or they'll just go ahead and tell you, yes, they are, but they can't tell you any more than that at this time or something like that, right? What does the Clarity Act really mean for Robinhood if it were passed? I don't know what that is. I'm going to skip. Can you give us an update on early traction with Trump accounts since the July launch? Specifically, the number of accounts open, asset flowing in, and how you're thinking about long-term contributions, net deposits, and AUC. I'm not going to upvote that one. I know they'll probably talk about that in their earnings report. That's why I'm not going to upvote it. I think that one's a given because it's a new product. They're going to want to talk about how it's doing. So I'm not going to upvote that. Okay, competitor. We'll read a couple more. Let's skip to Jacob D. I would love to know if Robinhood would pay dividends soon. I don't care about if they're going to pay dividends soon. Don't care. Because right now they're giving such good returns on equity. Dividends is not really my concern. And it's not like they're going to offer something like 4 or 5% dividends, which is great dividends. They're not a REIT, so they're not going to offer 10, 20%. REITs don't give great equity. That is why they give great dividends. So you're never going to really get both. I think Pepsi was at 3 or 4% before. They're around that area. So that's pretty darn good for dividends for a company like Pepsi, too, that's been around for a while. But usually if they're struggling in the equity realm, they'll up their dividends. Microsoft gives a really small dividend, but they give great equity. So there's a trade-off there. They're not a dividend stock, they're equity stock. So for me, I don't care about that. Since the pattern day trader rule change, have you noticed a meaningful increase in trading volumes? Also, thank you for the support for supporting this rule change. I know they're going to talk about that because that's big news. They let you day trade now without penalties and stuff like that. they're going to talk about that. He's going to talk about volume. Vlad always talks about that kind of stuff. Let's read this last one. Competitors like Kalshi are aggressively marketing prediction markets on multiple platforms, while Robinhood has notably quieter on promotion. Though Hood's existing user pool is a big advantage, but how durable is that edge as competitors keep capturing new users via ads? So that is something that I don't actually see a lot, is Robinhood doing ads. I don't see Robinhood ads like that. I just don't. In fact, I don't see any except on like social media, like YouTube. I saw the Earth is flat, but I didn't see that on like TV or anything. But again, I'm not a big TV junkie, so I couldn't tell you. I don't have cable. I don't have satellite. I don't have dish. I don't have any of that stuff. You won't find it near my house. I have Netflix, Amazon Prime, and yeah, that's it. All right, so I'm going to go back to the top because I only upvoted 2, and I am going to go ahead and upvote this one so I get 3 in there. All right, so that's a look at Robinhood. I saw that there was somebody else doing their earnings calls. Let me see. I think it might have been Orchid Island Capital doing their earnings call. Or was it SoundHound? I'm not exactly certain. But we'll scroll down and we'll find out. Now, I don't think I've ever, yep, it was them. Because they beat their, no, they didn't beat theirs. Somebody who was doing their earnings call beat their predictions. But it looks like it wasn't them. They estimated 28 cents per share and they got 26. So I might cover this earnings call for Orchid Island Capital because I've actually never covered one of theirs. So we might do our first REIT call here quickly. All right, so there's that. Now let's take a look. Let's just call it 3730. Let's do some reactions, shall we? Mr. Humprhey, take it away. Let's reload this.
Here are the 4 tiers of monthly investing. You can see that the first is very achievable, but they do get harder as you go. At $50.
All right, we're going to break this down right away because the fair use thing, if you let it play right away or all the way through, you might get got because you're using their content without reacting to it or something. So tier 1, he says very achievable. Guys, if you can't do $50 a month for investing, you are literally broke. That's only $600 a year. How do you know? Because 5 times 6 is 30. And so if you add a 0, that's 50 times 6 months. That's $300. That times 2 is $600. Why 2? Because 6 months is only half the year. 12 months, you get it. So that's only $600 a year. If you don't have $600 a year extra, you are broke, or you are broke regardless of what you're spending your money on. But you're probably spending money on something that you could cut out. Now, are you willing to part with that for that? So this is where it gets hairy, right? Let's say people spend $10 a day on a Starbucks drink, and that's Monday through Friday. Well, $10 a day for 1 work week, that's 5 days. That right there is your $50 a month. But are you willing to part with your Starbucks? Now watch what I'm going to show you. Now we do need the calculator, right? All right, put the camera on me. Starbucks is not essential. Unless you plan to work until you die, you need to invest some money. This is very real. So we're going $10 times 5 days equals 50, right? Now, if we pull up how many work weeks are in July. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 complete work weeks and then 3 extra days. So that's 20 days, right? Plus 3 would be 23. Check me on my math. Now watch this. Watch what I'm going to do. That's $10 times 23 days. You actually have 230 days or dollars in the month of July that you are spending on Starbucks. Do you have their stock? Are you invested in that franchise? Are they paying you a dividend? I mean, heck, if they were giving 10% cash back on what you spent, at least you get $23 out of spending this. At least you get 2 free drinks after a month. But if not, I think we're doing this wrong. Watch this. Let me not just ridicule or let me not ridicule without giving a solution. Watch this. What does the average Keurig cost? Now, I don't know if that's how you spell it, but it knows what I'm talking about. Oh, it is? Okay. All right, so the average Keurig costs between $50 and $150. Let's say we spend $100 on a Keurig, right? What is that coffee? What does the average Keurig cup cost? I don't know. K-cup, whatever. Okay, so 35 and 70 cents. What's halfway between that? 50? Yeah, because if you add, probably be about 55, right? If you add 15 cents and take away 15 cents, so that'd be 55 on this side and 50 here. It's about 52 cents. Let's just say 50 for easy math, right? Now, let's say you bought, you go to, I don't know, Costco, and you buy 50 of these K-cups, and you buy a $100 Keurig. Watch this. Remember the 230 now. You buy a $100 Keurig. Oh, shoot. Let me take the 50 cents first. 50 cents times 50, $25. Now remember, you bought a $100 Keurig. That's $125. Now watch this. That's with a Keurig and 50 coffee cups, right? Yeah, it's going to use some electricity and some water. People are going to get stupid over that, probably. But watch this. Minus 230. You save $105 probably a month. You could invest $50 twice in the stock market and still have $5 left over. You still save $60 a year to use on something else, and you could still invest $1,200 a year by just not going to Starbucks. Know what I'm saying? All right, so get why I'm saying that. So Humprhey's making a good point here. Let's continue.
A month, it won't retire you, but over 30 years of investing $50 a month or $600 a year, it will turn into about $75,000.
Which will make you smile when you're 60, 70 years old. But that better not be all you have, because if you plan on living, if you're 60 and you no longer work, so you hit the point of retirement, the point at which one no longer works or trades time for money, that's going to have to be working for you. You're going to have a lot of interest on that money to be able to pull from that money and not drain the pool. How long do you plan on living after 60 or after 70? Because if you plan on living if you're 60 when you retire, if you plan on living to 70, that won't make it. You're going to you might as well keep your job, keep top pay going. Hopefully you're there, because that's not going to cut it. That's why you need to start investing heavily now. I'm 20 years from 60 years old, and I can tell you right now, that won't cut it.
And this tier is really important because it's the one that makes you an investor. Tier 2 is $200 a month, and on the median salary in the United States, this is roughly 4 to 5% of that paycheck. Now
watch this. You had $230 a month if you were spending $10 a day at Starbucks 5 days a week. So don't give me that you can't do $200 a month. It's priorities. And I'm going to tell you right now, your priorities are going to shift as you get older. The issue is, and you can say, well, that's just life. I'm young right now. Great. But don't be young and dumb. One thing no one can help on planet Earth or anywhere in the galaxy or universe, Dragon Ball Z, Naruto verse, whatever verse you're in, One Punch Man, I don't care. You can't help being young, but you can help being dumb, right? Or rather, stupid, right? Stupid to me is when you have the knowledge and you do differently. If you're young and naive, that's what it means, young and dumb, right? But if somebody's telling you, it goes from dumb or naive, I would say, I just don't know better, to stupid. Because if I tell you and your excuse is I'm young and dumb, that makes you stupid. I just gave you a better way, so now you know. You're just saying I'm young like that's an excuse. The problem is your 50-year-old self would reach back in time and slap the dumb or stupid out of you because you're making his or her life harder down the road by not being smarter today. Listen to the advice given to you. Start investing now. $200 a month is $2,400 a year. If you actually tallied up what you spent on clothes, shoes, apparel, all that stuff, what you spent on Starbucks, what you spent on things that you didn't need but wanted, Amazon packages included. Now, it's different. If you're buying stuff on Amazon that you just didn't want to go to the store and get, that goes under grocery a lot of time or necessities or stuff like that, right? But it's different if you're just scrolling and buying the first thing that comes to mind. You're spontaneously buying and you can't just call it a need at that point, right?
Over 30 years, this will compound to $300,000, whereas you only contributed $72,000. So compounding, you can see, is picking up.
That's right. So now you contributed in the second tier what you got compound interest in the first tier. With compound interest and everything in the first tier, you only got about 73 grand. You contributed that much in tier 2 over time and got a much larger kickback, right? Or kick out, right? So think about that. That's how compound interest works. So here's the beauty of it all. You got when you buy a house. All the compound interest hits you right away. You're paying the most interest for your house in the first 10 years you're ever going to pay for it up front, right? But if you have an IRA and you're investing very wisely into your IRA, your compound interest starts picking up later on. So you're heavy-handed when you buy the house right away and very light-handed when you start the IRA right away. But watch this. Here's 5 years, here's 10 years, 15, they meet in the middle, slap hands and say, as the house, I'm taking a hands-off approach. I'm now light as a feather. That's what this is. And I'm slamming on the gas the last 15 years of my compound interest. That's what they're like, right?
Tier 3 is $500 a month, and that becomes $745,000 at retirement. And for most people, this is going to be enough because if you add in Social Security, you actually have a full retirement. It's not a dream retirement by any means, but it does get the job done. And tier 4 is $2,000 a month. I know that's a big jump, but it's at this tier where your ending balance can be well over $3 million in 30 years. And at a 4% withdrawal rate, that means that's going to pay you about $120,000 a year without working, which gives you ultimate financial freedom. Nobody stays in just one tier. As you make more money, you can invest more and more. So what tier are you on? Let me know in the comments.
All right, so now here's the thing. And this is the equalizer, I'm telling you. What people want and what they're gonna get are two different things. What am I talking about? So people want the returns of tier 3 and 4. They want to never have to worry about anything ever again, which would be tier 4. But what did he say? you have to actually be investing like $2,000 a month in order to get there. Am I there yet? No, I'm not there yet. I don't have it yet, but I'm working up to it. So I'm already planning that. That's not a good face there, Humphrey. But when I retire from the military, I should be earning anywhere from 70 to maybe 90 grand a year, right? Given my retirement, given VA claims, because I don't come on here and complain about my shoulders, my wrists, my knees, my hips, or anything like that. Some of that stuff is bothering me, right? The ringing in my ear. I look perfectly fine, don't I? Because I'm not going to complain. You're not going to hear it. But I will tell the VA, hey, this has been ailing me because it's the truth, right? Now, whatever I earn when I come out of the military, that's just going to stack on top of the next chapter, right? So let's say I earn about 130 in my next job. I'm a supervisor, I'm a manager somewhere, and that's what I'm earning. Now I'm at 200K a year. That's more than what I'm earning right now, right? So my earning stride is going to hit in my 40s. It already kind of has, but I'm at the lower end of my earning stride. My real earning stride, in my 40s, mid 40s, early 50s is going to be insane. It's going to be insane. And this is also why young guys, 18 to 25-year-olds, I will tell you, if you are just an average dude, like most of us are just average dudes, and you're an average earning dude, get off Instagram, get off of social media, listening to girls saying they don't want an average guy, average earning guy, and that, don't listen to any of that stupid stuff. I'm just an average dude when it comes to mostly anything, right? I'm a little taller than average height. I'm 5'10". The average height in America is 5'9". I'm 200 pounds. I'm 40 years old. You can see all the wisdom I have in my beard. I'm married. I'm a simple guy, right? But I'm a dude that cares. And sometimes caring about certain things makes you not average, right? But there's nothing wrong with being average. Take it. You're average. But you don't have to stay there. Build yourself, right? Either way, great video, Humphrey. I appreciate that. H to the Izzo. All right, now let's reload
You're
this.
incredibly wealthy. You've had all these great opportunities and things that have happened in your life, but you've
Who
struggled.
it out here?
Of course, everybody struggles. The iron rule of life is everybody struggles.
I try and think back of what the toughest moments might have been and how you got through some of those. I mean,
Well, we all know how to get through them. The great philosophers of realism are also the great philosophers of what I call soldiering through. If you soldier through, you can get through almost anything.
All right. Now that's Charlie Munger. That is Warren Buffett's friend. He is passed on, I think, November of 23. He was 99 years old. So he'd be over 100 now. And he said everybody goes through hard times, but learn to soldier through things.
And it's your only option. You can't bring back the dead. You can't cure the dying child. You can't do all kinds of things. You have to soldier through, and you just somehow you soldier through. If you have to walk through the streets crying for a few hours a day as part of soldiering through, go ahead and cry away, but you can't quit.
All right, so listen to what he said. This is a man right here, right? This isn't a woman saying if you have to cry, cry. This is a man. So he understands something very simplistic, but I think in our world, very complex, maybe not in the past 5 years because they tell dudes it's okay to cry. He would have been the generation to tell guys not to cry, right? But everything in moderation. See, the problem is, and I think I hold true to this. I hold firm to this. This is why we need women out of men's spaces and men out of women's spaces, because the men would tell you to not cry. Right? But they would also come back and tell you, hey, listen, everybody goes through tough times, and sometimes the world will knock you to your knees, and you may shed a couple tears, but you just can't stay there, right? Women never heard that part. They heard, oh, they tell each other, don't cry, and isn't that so crazy? Well, emoting like that is not a man's primary go-to, right? Emoting like that is a woman's primary go-to. And that's okay for them, and that's okay for us. We're okay with them emoting like they emote. They're not okay with us emoting like we emote. We're okay with them teaching each other like they teach each other. They're not okay with us teaching each other like we teach each other. But when it was separated and men taught each other over here, women taught each other over here, and this ain't men versus women. I'm bringing understanding to something that needs it, right? That's what needs to happen. Men stay over here, women stay over there, like we did for all the time and anywhere in planet Earth. The men went off to hunt and they came back with the kill. They sat around and taught each other. The older men taught the men and sharpened them in the village. Women were over here with the women, sharpening each other over here. The problem is we are poisoning each other's well by being in each other's faces too much in that teaching, because they will hear it, but not without a full understanding, because they're not in empathy mode, right? They're not trying to see the world through a man's eyes. They hear what they heard, but they see through a woman's eyes. So what they heard and what they're seeing and what they live is two different things. So it doesn't make sense. Same thing with a guy, right? We'll never be a woman. So if we're talking about experiencing birth and pregnancy and stuff, and we say, well, your bodies are set up for that, your bodies naturally do that anyway, they may get all irate because it comes with pain, aches, moved around organs. Everybody's up in your business, at least the doctors, the nurses and stuff. When it's time to have the baby, the Bible describes pain worse than death for birth and stuff like that. But guys have hardships and stuff like that, just different, right? So that's why it's important. Just stay out of each other's rooms and you'll understand this. So this is not a man saying be hard, be tough, don't ever cry, and kick indoors, wave in the 4-4s. Okay, maybe that was a little much bars, but I like his understanding. I like his level of wisdom at 90-something years old, either way.
You can cry all right, but you can't quit.
You've had time in your life when you've done that?
Sure.
You're incredibly wealthy.
See that? Sure, he's had time in his life where he's done that, right? So her saying you're incredibly wealthy here in the beginning has nothing to, let's hear it again.
You've had all these great opportunities and things that have happened in your life, but you've struggled too.
Of course, everybody struggles. The iron rule of life is everybody struggles.
I try and think back of what the toughest moments might have been and how you got through some of those. I mean,
Well, we all know how to get through them. The great philosophers of realism are also the great philosophers of what I call soldiering through. If you soldier through, you can get through almost anything.
So that's the point of that video, folks. Honestly, I love this because he is a billionaire. He's a multi-billionaire, or he was, right? He and Warren Buffett tag teamed investments and whatnot. He's a bit older than Buffett. Buffett, next month, if he lives through it, he'll be 96, right? Sometime in August. So Charlie Munger is a bit more advanced in age than him. Not much. I mean, 96 to maybe would have been 101. 102, not a big difference, folks. That's 5-6 years. So just think about that, right? Or 7 years, whatever. Think about that. That's true wisdom speaking. Soldier through things. Do not stop getting defeated. And I will close with this. And in fact, I will go ahead and call this my conclusion. In my notes, that's what I'm doing, so I can write chapters for y'all. So listen to what I'm saying, right? You have to soldier through it. My stock portfolio is taking a beating right now, which is last year it was up over 6 figures, right? That's just my stock portfolio. It has nothing to do with my IRA. It has nothing to do with a savings account. It has nothing to do with Acorns. It's totally separate. And it's taking a beating right now. Now we can blame the current sitting president and this thing with Iran. We can blame him. We can blame them. We can blame inflation. We can blame, I don't know, poor company performance. whatever the case, you have to soldier through it, right? Tough financial times they're gonna happen. Even to rich people, right? People who are, let's say they have $3 million in the bank. Daddy gave it to him. He's 30 years old and he's down to 1.3 million. He may be depressed knowing that he started with 3.4 million and he's down to 1.3 because he sees, I don't have a lot of money left. But people who have never had that level of wealth sees that you have a lot of money. Though if you gave it to them, it'd be gone in no time flat because they would do something stupid like go buy a Lamborghini or Ferrari, $300,000 to $500,000, and you just spent a great majority of that wealth on something dumb, rather than investing it in something, right? Watch this. Now, I just use this as an example. I'm not sponsored by them and may never be, but hey, maybe one day. Let's see. 1.3 million. Now, you don't do this. You don't put all that you have into one thing. So hear me first. You never do this. Let's say this wasn't his last dollar. That's 300,000, 1.3, right? Let's say he had this besides. This was his discretionary income. He could do what he will. He does have money tied up in other investments, and he's got money in savings and all of that. What you could do, Orchid Island Capital, right? And I talked about this before. Now, it's not an equity stock, so it might be down in equity, but it pays 19.74%. So watch this, right? You never do this. You never put all you have into one thing. So you multiply this by 0.1974, right? And that means it's gonna buy you. Oh, I'm sorry, I did that wrong. Hold on. Go back. Okay, there we go. What is the price of ORC? $6.54. So it's going to buy you 198,000 shares, right? Almost 199. Now, they pay 19%, right? 19.74%. So off of that, this is what you do. You multiply times 0.1974. That would equal $39,238. Or I'll show you that 19.74%. I'll show you another way you could do this, because I think I'm messing this up. Divided by, what was it? 6.54. All right, you have the number of shares. Now it pays 12 cents per share per month, right? So multiply, that's the shares, multiply it by 0.12 cents. That would pay you $23,853 a month. Times 12 months. Okay, look. 286, 238. So 286, 238. Okay, yeah, I just wanted to see. Let me see. That's not the right way to do it either. Hold on. 1.333. Okay, it's a little off. 256, 620. But with compounding, you will earn more than what you would. But basically with 1.3 million by the calculator, it's going to kick you back $256,620 per year. Right? So 19%, almost 20% of that 1.3 million. Now, here's the beautiful thing about that. You could let all that money roll back over into, let's say you don't need that 1.3 for nothing, but you want to invest in real estate and you want to get started in the next 2 years, right? And you need money. You could borrow against this 1.3 million, or another way you could do it is put it in Orchid Island Capital just to hold it and get your 20% a year. That way in 2 years, you have made $500,000 off that money, and you can draw that $500,000 out and leave the starting amount. So this will make you $500,000 plus $1.3 million. So equals 181 or 1.81 million. That's what that does. So let's say you don't need the 1.3 million, but you can make money off of it, $500,000 a year. See what I'm saying? So where there's a will, there's a way. I'm Will. I'm TBP, that be me, the blacksmith. And thank you for joining me on this Saturday. I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you for rocking with me. And I will see you next week. The forge is going cold. I'm going to get me a hammer and probably not, because my wife likes her elephants. So I shouldn't knock that over. But yes, see y'all next week.